January 16th, 2025. A day that will be remembered in the annals of space exploration. Within just hours of each other, two titans of American spaceflight made history with launches that captured the world's attention. Blue Origin's New Glenn, after a decade of development, finally reached for the stars on its maiden voyage. And SpaceX's Starship, the largest rocket ever built, soared from its Texas launch pad in its latest test flight. As these massive vehicles thundered into the sky, the space community erupted with debate. Some celebrated both launches as victories for human advancement, while others drew stark comparisons between the two missions. On social media, heated discussions broke out about which flight proved more successful: New Glenn's orbital achievement despite losing its first stage, or Starship's successful booster recovery followed by upper stage loss. Today on Elon Musk 24 Hours, we're going to break down these historic launches, examine what really happened in both missions, and explore how industry leaders Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos responded to these pivotal moments. We'll analyze the technical achievements, setbacks, and what these parallel missions mean for the future of space exploration. Don't forget to subscribe to Elon Musk 24 Hours and help us reach 150,000 subscribers. Let's dive right in. The early days of rocket development were marked by spectacular failures that paved the way for extraordinary achievements. In the 1960s, NASA's journey to master spaceflight was fraught with challenges. Nearly half of the Atlas boosters, the very rockets meant to carry Mercury astronauts into the cosmos, failed their test flights before being deemed safe for human spaceflight. The Titan missiles violently shook during their initial unmanned launches, threatening to tear themselves apart. Even the mighty Saturn V, which would eventually carry humanity to the moon, faced such severe problems during its final unmanned test that Chris Kraft, NASA's director of flight operations, declared it a disaster in 1968. Yet from these setbacks emerged the greatest achievements in human spaceflight. This historical context brings us to January 16, 2025, when two modern aerospace giants followed in those pioneering footsteps, each writing their own chapter in the ongoing story of space exploration. Blue Origin's New Glenn lifted off from Cape Canaveral in the early morning hours, its 7 BE-4 engines igniting in a brilliant display of power. The launch pad disappeared in a cloud of exhaust as the massive rocket began its journey skyward. For Jeff Bezos, who founded Blue Origin in 2000, this moment represented the culmination of over 2 decades of work. The tension in the control room was palpable as New Glenn cleared the tower, its methane-fueled engines producing 3.8 million pounds of thrust, enough power to simultaneously propel 2 Nimitz-class aircraft carriers at full speed. The initial phase of the flight went exactly as planned. New Glenn's trajectory was perfect as it arced over the Atlantic Ocean, its engines performing flawlessly as they pushed the payload toward orbit. But space exploration has always been an unforgiving endeavor. During the critical booster recovery attempt, something went wrong. The massive first stage, designed for up to 25 Russes, failed to make its planned gentle landing on the recovery vessel. Instead, it plunged into the Atlantic Ocean, a setback that visibly affected Bezos, who stood watching with crossed arms, his usual smile notably absent. Yet even this partial success represented a significant milestone. After 25 years of development, Blue Origin had finally joined the elite club of companies capable of reaching orbit. The successful payload deployment proved that New Glenn's upper stage worked as intended, validating countless hours of engineering work and testing. Just hours later, SpaceX's Starship took to the skies from its launch site in Boca Chica, Texas. This behemoth, standing nearly 400 feet tall, represents the most ambitious rocket program in history. The flight began with a successful liftoff, the massive booster's 33 Raptor engines creating a spectacular display of power that could be felt miles away. In a dramatic reversal of the day's earlier launch, Starship's booster successfully returned to its launch site, caught by the massive chopstick arms of the launch tower, a feat that had never been achieved before with a booster of this size. However, space showed once again that it never gives up its secrets easily. 8 minutes and 27 seconds into the flight, at an altitude of several hundred kilometers, Starship's upper stage experienced what SpaceX euphemistically termed a rapid, unscheduled disassembly. The loss of the upper stage highlighted the immense challenges of developing a fully reusable super heavy lift vehicle. The contrast between these two launches reveals much about the different approaches these companies take to space exploration. Blue Origin, following its motto of gradatim ferociter, step by step, ferociously, spent over a decade developing New Glenn. The company's methodical approach prioritized careful testing and validation at each stage. SpaceX, on the other hand, embraces a test, fly, fail, fix philosophy that has enabled them to achieve an unprecedented pace of development, moving from initial Starship designs to flight tests in just 5 years. These different philosophies are reflected in their leaders' responses to the day's events. Elon Musk, true to form, responded to Starship's partial success with characteristic optimism, immediately looking forward to improvements for the next test flight. His posts on social media focused on the successful booster recovery and the valuable data gathered from the upper stage failure. This approach has served SpaceX well, enabling them to complete 423 successful Falcon 9 launches and 11 Falcon Heavy missions. Starship, meanwhile, is pushing the boundaries of what's possible in rocket design. Its fully reusable architecture and unprecedented size could revolutionize space travel, potentially reducing launch costs to a fraction of current levels. NASA has already selected Starship as the lunar lander for the Artemis program, demonstrating confidence in SpaceX's ambitious approach. The timing of these launches is particularly significant given the changing landscape of the space industry. The International Space Station is scheduled for decommissioning by the end of the decade, creating new opportunities and challenges for space companies. The successful development of both New Glenn and Starship could prove crucial for establishing the infrastructure needed for humanity's next steps in space exploration. These launches also highlight America's growing dominance in commercial spaceflight, while international competitors face various challenges. Chinese rockets are largely unavailable to Western customers due to geopolitical tensions. Russian launches have become scarce due to international sanctions, and European and Japanese programs struggle to match SpaceX's cost efficiency. American companies are pushing forward with increasingly ambitious projects. The technical achievements demonstrated in both launches underscore the remarkable progress being made in reusable rocket technology. New Glenn's first stage, despite its landing failure, was designed with sophisticated recovery systems that could eventually enable routine reuse. Starship's successful booster recovery, meanwhile, validates SpaceX's ambitious approach to catching and reusing the largest rocket stage ever built. Looking toward the future, both companies have clear but different visions. Blue Origin's Bezos envisions millions of people living and working in space, with New Glenn serving as a reliable transportation system for cargo and eventually crews. SpaceX's Musk focuses on establishing a human presence on Mars, with Starship designed specifically to enable large-scale Mars colonization. The events of January 16, 2024, demonstrate that we're entering a new era of space exploration, one where private companies push the boundaries of what's possible while learning from each other's successes and failures. The competition between Blue Origin and SpaceX, once marked by lawsuits and public disagreements, has evolved into a rivalry that drives innovation and progress in the space industry. These launches, with their mixture of triumph and setback, remind us that the path to the stars is never easy. Each failure provides valuable data, each success builds confidence, and every launch brings us closer to a future where human presence in space is commonplace. The story of space exploration continues to be written, not by a single company or nation, but through the combined efforts of those bold enough to reach for the stars, even in the face of setbacks and challenges. The events of January 16, 2024 marked more than just 2 rocket launches. They represented a pivotal moment in humanity's journey to the stars. While New Glenn and Starship each face their own challenges, both launches pushed the boundaries of what's possible in spaceflight. Blue Origin proved it could reach orbit, while SpaceX demonstrated unprecedented booster recovery capability with the world's largest rocket. As we continue to follow these developments on Elon Musk's 24 hours, one thing becomes crystal clear. The race to revolutionize space travel is accelerating. Both companies are learning from their successes and setbacks, driving innovation that will ultimately benefit all of humanity. The competition between SpaceX and Blue Origin isn't just about corporate rivalry, it's about expanding human presence beyond Earth. I'll be bringing you the latest updates on Starship's next flight, New Glenn's future missions, and all the groundbreaking developments in space exploration. If you found this analysis insightful, hit that like button and share it with fellow space enthusiasts. Drop a comment below with your thoughts on which company made the bigger breakthrough. Was it Blue Origin's orbital success or SpaceX's booster recovery? Subscribe to Elon Musk 24 hours and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future launches, tests, or major announcements. Together, we're witnessing history in the making. See you in the next video. January 16, 2025 marked a historic day in space exploration, but not for the reasons anyone expected. As Jeff Bezos watched his massive New Glenn rocket soar successfully into orbit for the first time, celebrations at Blue Origin were cut short. The rocket's booster, designed for a precision landing, failed to return safely to Earth. Just hours later, SpaceX's Starship Flight 7 launched with its upgraded Block 2 configuration, only to encounter its own challenges 8.5 minutes into the flight. 2 launches, 2 partial successes, and 2 FAA investigations later, something extraordinary began to unfold. The space race that had once driven these billionaire rivals apart was now pushing them together. For the first time in their decades-long competition, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos found themselves facing the same regulatory hurdles, the same technical challenges, and perhaps most surprisingly, sharing the same vision for the future of space exploration. The story of how these two fierce competitors might be transforming from bitter rivals into unexpected allies isn't just about rockets and regulations. It's about how shared challenges can bridge even the widest of gaps. From Musk's playful stepbrothers references to Bezos's quiet but meaningful follow on X, we're witnessing what could be the beginning of a new chapter in commercial spaceflight. Hey everyone, welcome back to Elon Musk 24 Hours. Let's dive right in. The morning of January 16th began with a sense of electric anticipation at Cape Canaveral. After 5 long years of development, countless technical challenges, and 3 scrubbed launch attempts, Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket stood tall against the Florida sky. For Jeff Bezos, this wasn't just another launch. It represented the culmination of a 20-year dream to transform his company from a suborbital tourism venture into a serious player in orbital spaceflight. As the countdown reached 0, New Glenn's 7 BE-4 engines roared to life, pushing the massive rocket skyward with 3.85 million pounds of thrust. The launch itself was textbook perfect. Blue Ring Pathfinder, the rocket's sophisticated military payload, successfully reached its intended orbit, an impressive feat for a first flight. Dave Lim, Blue Origin's CEO, couldn't contain his excitement as he shared the precise orbital parameters. An apogee of 19,300 kilometers and perigee of 2,400 kilometers, with less than 1% deviation from their target. This wasn't just a test flight, it was Blue Origin's entry ticket into the lucrative military launch market. But space has always had a way of humbling even the most carefully laid plans. As the New Glenn booster began its descent back to Earth, something went wrong. The same rocket that had performed flawlessly during ascent failed to stick its landing. For a company that had built its reputation on the careful, methodical approach to spaceflight, this partial failure stung particularly hard. Just 14 hours later, all eyes turned to SpaceX's Starship Flight 7. This wasn't just another test flight, it was the debut of the Block 2 configuration, featuring significant upgrades to both the Super Heavy booster and Starship vehicle. The launch began promisingly, with all 33 Raptor engines performing nominally, including one flight-proven engine from Flight 5. The Super Heavy booster even managed to repeat its impressive feat of being caught by the launch tower, a dramatic demonstration of SpaceX's commitment to full and rapid reusability. But 8.5 minutes into the flight, something went wrong with the upper stage. The loss of the vehicle triggered an immediate FAA investigation, complicated by reports of falling debris over Turks and Caicos. The incident forced air traffic controllers to establish a debris response area, causing disruptions to commercial flights and raising new questions about the safety protocols for these ambitious test flights. 2 companies, 2 launches, 2 partial successes, and 2 FAA investigations. But rather than deepening their rivalry, these parallel challenges seemed to spark something unexpected. Elon Musk was the first to break the ice, posting a congratulatory message about New Glenn's successful orbital insertion. What followed was even more surprising. Musk shared clips from the movie Step Brothers, playfully suggesting that he and Bezos had become best friends. The gesture might have seemed small,